terms of maybe a legacy you'd like to leave behind, what would you think that would be?
That's such a great question. A legacy I'd like to leave behind.
Some words of inspiration for the younger generation.
Yeah, so I think it comes down to, and I started out by saying, or by referencing, like, who are you? Who's the giant within you? And I feel like, it probably speaks to my journey. What are the things and who are the people that I like to work with, and organizations and people that I like to coach. And it's the people who I guess in organizations who are ready to up level, who are almost frustrated within themselves because they know that they're either in their organization, there's a bigger, better version of their organization to come through. So they're lying awake thinking about, well, I'm frustrated because I just know there's more in my people. I know there's more. I can see there's more in my people. Or personally, people are lying awake and thinking to myself, I'm frustrated with myself because I know there's more. I know there's more of myself to bring out into the world. I know that there's a more powerful version of myself that is here to be brought into the world. And there's a bigger version of myself that's here to be brought into the world. And I'm frustrated internally with myself. And so when I look at a legacy and what it is that I would like to sort of leave behind, it's really around how do we bring women and men across various sort of sectors, across various age groups, into the forefront. In other words, not shying away from their own greatness, but rather how do you claim and proclaim your own greatness and bring that into the world in a more deliberate way, and become more visible. And I say this because I think in my journey, I personally made myself invisible. I personally kind of wiped, almost like erased myself and my value and the highly capable individual that I was. I wiped that out based on the response that I received in terms of, who I was and the truth that I was speaking. And so when I think about a legacy I'd like to leave, it's around sort of really empowering, inspiring, equipping individuals with the various tools, the capabilities to really illuminate that power within. And I'm talking power within in terms of their own spirituality, their own connection to truth, their own connection into the source, the God, the divinity within themselves, and to bring that into the world in a more deliberate way. And part of that is really doing that as a collective as well. There's great power in the collective coming to do that and permissioning it. And when I think around sort of organizations and what I would like to leave behind is seeing organizations, seeing the collective, seeing communities really advance the levels of consciousness, advance humanity into new levels of consciousness, where new levels of human ingenuity have come to fruition, where new ways of thinking have come to fruition, and new ways of being have come into fruition as a result of the work that I personally have done, or my own sort of contributions to humanity, and seeing humanity advance, leaders advance in terms of the solutions that they're offering. We're living in such trying times at the moment where obviously we're looking at sort of, on the cusp of potentially World War III. We're seeing sort of real difficult times in terms of, economically, politically, inflation. There's just so many different problems to be solved. And we have to come at this from a greater level of mind. We have to come at this from something different. We have to come at this from levels of cooperation and collaboration, and extracting wisdom from the past and the way we've done things, but adding in new wisdom. And so equipping people, individuals, women, youth, young leaders to really come into the forefront and powerfully come into the forefront and powerfully have a voice. And even when there's pushback is to really powerfully drive a different narrative and a different agenda. And then I kind of have this concept of lead, inspire, influence. And it takes an incredible amount of courage, and it's something that I'm fortunate in terms of I've always had a lot of courage in my life. but I've also had that squashed personally. And to have that courage to continue to drive change, to continue to drive diversity, to continue to drive inclusivity, and to continue to celebrate powerful beingness, powerful becoming, powerful invigorating solutions, and celebrate, as opposed to cut down, as opposed to undermine old ways of thinking, and come into more of a collective, like I say, a more cooperative, more collaborative, and more energized space. I think, importantly, I think there's still a lot of work to do in the context of people overcoming their own sort of, I call them shadow energy, shadow frequencies. In other words, what are those things where I can find myself undermining myself or others? Is that through control? Is it through manipulation? And how do I rise above that to come into a more of an expansive of view? And so truly participating in driving levels of consciousness, in advancing humanity to greater and greater levels of, as I say, collectiveness, cooperation, collaboration, wisdom sharing, just integrity, true speaking, trust. I think are important things that I would want to contribute towards leaving behind, and yeah, just leaving behind. I think levels of my own sort of innovation and ingenuity that can be adopted, utilized, and given out and shared amongst people.
Thank you so much for that, Sjeanne. I think my biggest takeaway is the visibility part. I think a lot of people work so hard, but they're not recognized, or they don't push themselves to be visible. And sometimes taking them along the journey, if you recognize that and pulling them up, it lessens the burden of sort of equipping, because we also a lot of the time don't have the time to equip. So dedicating the time firstly is important, but also just the small times we recognize or pull someone up out of their comfort zone and support them well enough to rise to challenges is probably quite important. I know personally I had a mentor who I used to describe as she pushes me into the deep end to drown, but she lifts me up just before anything bad happens. So thank you so much for that, Sjeanne.